My name is Chandler Clarke, and I wrote Boys and Bows. Bear with me, I'm not the best on camera, so I'm going to try to get through this as best I can. First question is, how did you come up with the idea? So I'm from Long Island, New York. I played lacrosse my entire life through college. My older siblings also played lacrosse through college, and I have a lot of experience with the game, and also a deep love for it, especially during those adolescent years, junior high, high school. It really was a huge part of my life. So I always wanted to write something about that part of my life. Those are kind of the golden years, if you will. As I've gotten older, I also realized that this sport has a very large public perception about it, and I'm kind of hyper aware of that public perception. So I also don't take the sport too seriously, which I think is an important thing when I wanted to write this script, because I wanted to be both approachable and interested. I wanted to be both interesting to those who are familiar with the game of lacrosse and those who are unfamiliar with the game of lacrosse. So that was really important to me. The actual idea for this script came to me when I was writing an idea for a commercial for a lacrosse brand back in 2017. It required too much of a budget and some special effects, so we didn't have the means of making, but it involved a athlete finding a lacrosse stick in an abandoned factory. He or she would begin shooting, and practicing with the stick, and it would culminate with this epic wide shot in a profile and at a high frame rate, where the person hurled the lacrosse ball towards a net, and while traversing through the air, the lacrosse ball ignited into flame. So there was actually a comet tail of fire following it as it moves left to right across the frame, hitting the net, and then the final shot would have been this OTS shot with the net in the foreground. The player who shot it recedes into the background, into the shadows, and the net is ablaze, flames flickering. I just had a producer on that project, a co-producer, say, hey, this is pretty interesting. How'd you think of this? What's the backstory here? And that really just made me jot down that idea as something I'd like to pursue down the road. And here we are. How long did it take me to write this story? I had the idea for several years back, dating back to 2017 is when I had the original idea. And then COVID hit. 2020, 2021, and that was really the ideal opportunity for me to sit down and put the time into finally putting the thought down on paper. The first draft was done in, call it a week or two, and then I had some industry friends and fellow creatives give it a read, and then I probably spent the better part of, 4, 5, 6 months just really tightening up and making changes to it. All those changes, while they weren't major, the structure really stayed the same throughout. I did add in the Villanueva family to help cement that comparison between the lacrosse familiar and those unfamiliar with the sport. I saw that as having a really good element there to show just how absurd this fan base, lacrosse culture, I should say, can be to those that are not familiar with the game. But other than that, minor things, but they really added up, and I think left me with a pretty decent short. Next question. Is this the first script you have written? Yes, this is the first script that I have written. It did inspire me to also write another short, which was a sci-fi thriller that I've actually turned into a feature screenplay with a fellow writer. We co-wrote it together. But this is my baby. This is the first one. This is the dream, right? The dream would be to turn this into a pilot, to direct that pilot and turn it into a series, or to find a production company that was interested enough in making it a feature and to finish the short and turn it into a feature and hopefully direct that as well and be a part of that process. Why did I enter Scriptapalooza? After doing some research, it was really obvious that Scriptapalooza was the most legitimate screenplay competition out there. If you could do well in that competition, that most likely means you actually have something that is good and could have the potential to be made, which is really important, right? I didn't want to write just to write. I want to write something that's going to get made. And then the second thing that Scriptapalooza really brings is connections. You can have the best script, you can have the best idea, but if nobody reads it, if the right people don't read it, if it doesn't reach their inbox, it will never get made. And if there's one thing I've learned after being in the creative film industry for a while now, almost 10 years, is that knowing people and having that network within your reach is really important. So I think Scriptapalooza brought a lot of legitimacy to their competition through those offerings, and made me want to enter my script into it. If you could write for any TV show, which would it be? I enjoy a lot of shows and a lot of genres, but if I could write for anything, it would probably be Amazon's The Boys. I think that show is a great hybrid of action, of drama, and comedy. Dark comedy, pretty over-the-top comedy. But I really enjoy all those genres, and I love how they're able to blend them. And I really think that Boys and Bows, at least I hope, can take a page out of their book. It's a comedy, it's got sci-fi, but I also wanted to have a bit of drama, right? You need to care for these characters as they grow and matriculate and have their own conflicts, and you want to see them succeed, right? So you have to invest in these characters. So I think having that blend of genres is something I admire by the boys and something I hope I could bring to my own script, Boys and Bows. It's a little bit long, guys. Hopefully that's okay, though, and if you need me to re-record anything, let me know.